Hello and welcome. Does your child seem to have special spiritual gifts? Does your child see, hear, or seem to just know things that you and others don't? Is your child's behavior extra sensitive or even different around certain people, places, or things? Well, stay tuned. My guest today will help you to recognize if you are raising a spiritually gifted child. I wanted to create a place where women can come to be empowered by other women. Women helping women, with interviews of extraordinary and inspiring leaders, artists, celebrities, and change makers who have overcome great challenges to become incredibly successful and then give back to others so that they can love and believe in themselves, follow their bliss, and shine their light. In this way, we can truly be the change we wish to see in the world. Welcome to the Orgina Rose Show. Hello everyone and welcome to the show. My guest today is on a mission to nurture the next generation of spiritual leaders. She is the founder of the Temple of Mary, a spiritual and educational resource center to empower children and families. Please welcome Alison Elsberry.
Hi.
Hello. It's so good to have you, Alison.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh.
Thank you.
It is truly our pleasure, and my pleasure especially, to have you here and share with everyone this journey and this mission that you have been called to. There really is quite a calling for you.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about how did you come to it? Take us kind of back to the beginning. What was some of the journey that made you so fascinated with this kind of a subject?
So with the Temple of Mary or with children in general?
Children and spirituality, spiritual gifts. What were some of the things? Were you fascinated as a child? Did you think you had spiritual gifts?
Yeah. So I grew up as a child with a spiritual message.
Mm-hmm.
And from a very young age, I would see Mother Mary. She was my childhood companion and friend.
Oh, wow.
And I just called her Mary. And it wasn't until I got older and realized that no one else in my family was actually seeing and hearing who I was speaking with. And I just had this incredible connection with her and her team of angels. And I just wasn't sure how to share that with other people. And so I became really fascinated about that. And as I got older, I just wanted to fit in.
Didn't we all?
I just wanted
Yeah.
to fit in, and I really wasn't sure how to take everything that I had really been given as a soul and a human body and start expressing that in the world. I wasn't really sure how to do that and how to be that.
Right.
And it wasn't until I became a pediatric occupational therapist and started working with children and families that more and more kids started coming in through my practice. And the parents would find me and just have all these questions to be able to ask. Well, what does it mean when my child's doing this behavior?
Yeah.
Or, how can I help really understand who they are?
Okay.
And I seem to have this way of bridging that gap of communication and consciousness between mothers and their children, so that the moms could really understand who their child was on a soul level and really nurture the spirit of who they are.
And did you feel when they would ask you a question, did you feel that you were being given kind of divine guidance as an answer, or how to answer them very specifically? Kind of an intuitive sense.
It was, and it took me probably a good 5 or 6 years to realize that the voice and the energy that I was feeling in my body and experiencing was Mary.
And how did you know that? How did you make that connection with the childhood situation and experience?
Yeah. So from the real young age, I used to see her very clearly. And then in my teenage years, I didn't really connect with her very much. I knew she was there, But again, I just wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
I didn't really want other people to know that I had that capability.
Yes.
Because I really wasn't sure
Sure.
what other people would think. So I was more concerned about that. But when I got out of college and I started on my first job, I just felt a presence with me. And the more that I allowed that presence to be with me, the more I realized that, oh, this is familiar.
Okay.
I know this feeling. I remember feeling that many years ago.
And it felt warm, it felt safe, it felt loving.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you know it wasn't something to fear, it's not anything, because a lot of people I think have a concern that there's something else. We have all of the movies in our society and TV shows that really take us down this other path, but it was so clear to you that wasn't the case.
No, this was a very warm and comforting presence that felt like unconditional love. Just this sense of softness and compassion. And so I started listening more and more to that voice and really reestablishing that childhood connection that I had with her so clearly, and really following that voice and really starting to follow the voice of my soul.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so powerful that you were able to make that connection, that you were able to kind of move through that, because I know, like, say for myself, and this was part of why I really wanted to have you on, is because I know so many of us have experiences as children or as young youth, and they're not quite explainable, or they may have seemed a little strange only because of the reaction we were getting from other people. Like for myself, at the age of 9 was one of the first really big moments where I had a dream, and it was one of my favorite actors on the planet. His name was Eric Estrada, right? From Chips, And I was staying over a friend's house, one of my best friends, a sleepover, and woke up the next morning and we're all at the breakfast table, her whole family and myself, visiting for the first time. And I say, oh my God, I had this wild dream last night that Eric Estrada was in a motorcycle accident. And it was night, and and I'm going through all of this really specific detail. And literally, as moments after I finished telling the story, on the television, breaking news, Eric Estrada has been in a motorcycle accident last night, at such and such a time, and this is how it happened, and everything was exactly how I explained it. And I remember sitting there going, how is that? You have no idea what to say. But what was even worse was then all of the looks, like everyone in the whole family turned and looked at me with complete shock, a little bit of fear, and that's kind of that unconscious message that says something's not okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so many times people really kind of subdue anything like that, or they don't want to talk about it, or they're afraid of it. So how wonderful that you got to experience this whole journey in a much more loving and accepting way.
Yes. Now it wasn't without its challenges by any means.
Okay.
Because I was such an intuitive and perceptive child that sometimes what other people were feeling about themselves, I thought that's what they were feeling about me and my companion, Mary.
Yes.
And so I went through a lot of shame, around having such a presence about me and around me, and I didn't know how to be with that and embody it. So I actually hid that away and didn't know how to share that part of me with the world until I was in my 20s.
Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about how people could bridge that a little bit better for themselves and get more deeply into the work that you are doing presently to help children and families do that. So come right back with us with Alison Elsberry.
There is a tribe in Africa where the birth date of a child is counted not from when they were born, nor from when they are conceived, but from the day the child was thought of in its mother's mind. And when a woman decides that she will have a child, She goes off and sits under a tree by herself, and she listens until she can hear the song of the child that wants to come. And after she's heard the song of this child, she comes back to the man who will be the child's father and teaches it to him. And then they sing the song of the child as a way to invite him or her. And then when the mother is pregnant, the mother teaches that child's song to the midwives and the old women of the village, so that when the child is born, the old women and the people around her sing the child's song as a welcome. And then as the child grows up, the other villagers are taught the child's song. If the child falls or hurts his knee, someone picks him up and sings his song to him. Or perhaps the child does something wonderful or goes through the rites of puberty. Then, as a way of honoring this person, the people of the village sing his or her song. With my baby's first song, you will sing your child's song and welcome him or her into the world. A song that is as unique and special as your baby. Welcome.
And we are back with Alison Elsberry, founder of the Temple of Mary, who is sharing about spiritually gifted children and her own journey. So Alison, as you just said, and we just kind of shared a bit of our stories, that it's not always an easy, pretty, smooth journey, is it?
No.
Not at all, right?
No.
And so what were some of the things, especially I loved what you said about how, we can be picking up someone else's energy,
Mm-hmm.
or being especially sensitive to maybe our surroundings, and we think it's us, but it's not.
Yes. Well, that's why I actually really love calling children spiritually gifted, because everyone is spiritually gifted.
Yes.
We're all here to share a message
Yes.
and a certain presence with other people and the world. And the reason I've been guided to use the word spiritually gifted is because it's the gift of spirit, learning how to be embodied in this temple.
Yeah. That's good.
And
That's
it's
really good.
yeah, and doesn't that feel good?
It feels
to
yummy.
say
Say
that?
that again, right?
I
It is
know.
a gift, I know. It is a gift.
It's a gift
Of
of the
spirit.
spirit that's embodied in this temple.
That is powerful. That's
So
really good.
that's why I call children spiritually gifted.
Yeah. And indeed, as we all are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how can we start to shift a little bit around that
Mhm.
to accept and embrace and truly embody the spirit
Yeah.
that is indeed within us?
Willingness. That's so huge.
Yeah.
And, Mary has really helped me understand free will.
This is a
It's
good one.
It is.
Yeah. All right,
Feel
let's dig
it.
in. Let's dig in. Yes.
She defines free will as your ability to move with your soul or refuse it.
That's about as clear as I think I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful and so clear.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so true,
Yeah,
because we do have that freedom.
we do.
We can move with our soul and our soul's path and our soul's journey, our call, if you will,
Right.
or not.
Right.
Right.
And so a lot of times it just really honestly comes down to choice.
Always.
When I get asked so many times, well, how did you learn how to embody your gifts? What do I do?
Yeah.
And it's not something that is a step-by-step process. The experience is different for everyone.
Yes, this is powerful.
But I also know that it begins with feeling something so deep in your heart that wants to be expressed.
Yes.
And that's simply the call of your spirit coming alive in your own temple.
Yeah.
That really wants to be heard and seen and felt and expressed. And that call can look like a number of different things.
All kinds of things.
it can be a crisis that you're having with your health. It can be a relationship issue that you're having with yourself or your children. It can be a dream that you have. I mean, it can look like so many different things.
Yeah. It can look like a job ending, right?
Yes.
Some sort of, and I love that you say a crisis, because, we have that saying, a blessing in disguise.
Right.
And it really is. We don't like it actually sometimes, but that's what it is.
It is. Yeah. And so those awakenings, it's just simply Spirit knocking on the door, asking to come through louder and clearer
and more fully.
Yeah. For us to really be who we are.
Yes.
But it is our choice.
Yes.
So I think that's probably what I would tell most people, is that it's your choice to really want to express your spirituality.
And I think, and how would you say to people, how can they recognize when there's something knocking, right? Spirit is knocking. What does that feel like?
Gosh, that's a great question. It can feel like restlessness, anxiety, sometimes even grief.
Yes.
Depression.
Yeah.
Because it's the Spirit trying to communicate and get our attention through something that has not been expressed.
Yes.
And so it'll show up in our emotions.
Yes.
It'll show up in our physical body. But it can also be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum and show up as a dream that you have. Whether reoccurring dream, or you're out somewhere and you see a bumper sticker and something just clicks.
Yes.
It can show up in so many different ways, because how Spirit truly communicates with us is so intimate.
Yes.
And so unique.
Yes.
It's your relationship with your own soul, your own spirit, and how that shows up in your daily life.
Yes.
That makes the most impact.
Beautiful.
But it's really, how willing are you to listen and to slow down
and breathe
and take a step back and look at all the clues that are already presenting themselves.
Yes, pay attention. Just pay attention.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So Alison, when we come back, because I want to go a little deeper into this, and I want to also find out, when did the Temple of Mary first start to knock at your door? So we will do that when we come right back.
Hi, my name is Tim Ringgold.
And I'm Orgina Rose.
And welcome to my baby's first song. We're really excited you're here. We wanted to bring you into the recording studio, into the womb, where your song will be created just for you. And just kind of walk you through the process a little so you get a sense of what it would be like to work with us in this setting. So Orgina's gonna describe the process to you.
Absolutely. So it's a wonderful, beautiful process that happens in 3 easy steps. So the very first thing we do is have a call with you and really get a sense of your style and the music and the message that you want to share with your baby. And the second step is really easy as well. We then take that information, that beautiful message and the sound that you want, and we begin creating the song and have that first draft for you. And then the third step is, once we have that final song all together, we do a nice mix and mastering so it sounds professional and really pulled together, and deliver your baby's first song.
And because your voice is so important to your baby, one of the things we're going to do for you is provide you a karaoke track of the song with the melody line in it, so that you can sing along your lyrics to your baby as well.
Absolutely, because your voice, especially a mother's voice, is so important to a baby, especially even in the womb. So we really want to make sure your voice is included. And we're even going to make sure that there's a section of the song that has your voice and your message spoken in the song. So your baby is always hearing your voice and connecting with you.
So thank you for being here. Take a look around. Email us with any questions you have. We can't wait to work with you, and thanks again.
Thank you. Bye for now.
And we are back with Alison Elsberry. And Alison, where we just left, I think was so powerful for so many people, for all of us really, because we're all on a journey, whether we recognize it or not. And we're all being given signs, and the spirit is knocking, whether we recognize or are listening or not. And yours has been quite an amazing journey. From that time, you started to really shift your practice. So you had a practice, and then you really started to shift. Tell us about that.
So
lights up, look at that.
Well, I heard the knock very loud on my door, and I decided to answer it. And one of the ways that looked was exploring more alternative ways of meeting the needs of children and their families. And so I studied all kinds of different energetic modalities and different tools and techniques. And I started my own business. And I had an abundance of moms and kids showing up at my doorstep and just saying, I really think that my child's here to really say something to the world, but I'm not really sure what to do, right? You know, or I know my child's here for a really big purpose, but I don't know how to help them.
Right, yes.
Because every mom just knows in our heart.
Absolutely.
I know my child's special. I know they're unique. How do I nurture this in a way that also can nurture myself? So those were some of the questions that started showing up through the families that I was seeing.
Because you also have a thought and or belief that the moms, right, of those children themselves may have an extra special gift.
Absolutely.
That maybe they, stifled somewhere along the way.
Yes.
So it's a journey for both.
So it's actually part of the spiritual partnership that gets co-created between a mother and a child. That's just the unspoken dynamic.
Wow.
Because children are really coming in to help us change how we see the world. And part of changing how we see the world begins with how we see ourselves. And so that's why a lot of children coming in have what we would call unusual behaviors on purpose. So they kind of shake up that dynamic and get one or more of the parents to join in and take that ride.
Start to recognize
on the spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. And frankly, I believe it's been happening throughout the generations. With each generation, there are those that have been coming in.
Yes.
There was a phrase, indigo children, and different things like that along the way. And each time I believe it has been to shake things up and to help us all really to just be more unconditionally loving. Because for me, that's my belief. I believe that's why we are here, is to truly recognize and understand and experience unconditional love in all of its ways.
Yes.
So beautiful, beautiful. So this spiritual partnership and co-creation, I love that. So you started working with children and their families, and what were some of the experiences that you saw there?
Oh gosh. We could have another show.
Right, a whole
just
show
about
on
that. But what I found was the most common were that parents were coming in, particularly moms, saying, I know my child's here for a really big purpose, but I feel so worried that I'm going to mess up.
This is good. Okay.
I feel really anxious because I feel like I'm not getting it right. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. I don't know what school to put them in.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
Or, I don't know the dynamic between the other siblings. Is there something I need to be aware of there? Just lots of, I guess I would say, a yearning, a hunger to understand more of how spirit moves through the body and how spirit can actually hold a bigger container for the purpose of the family. And instead of the parents being focused on one child or all the children in the family, shifting the focus so that it's me too.
Yeah, that they are a part of it. And then also not to take it all on their shoulders,
Exactly.
to recognize, indeed, this is Spirit's call, right?
Exactly.
For all of you, not just you have to handle it all.
Right.
That's really powerful.
So I would say that's probably one of the biggest things as well, is especially women as mothers feel an incredible sense of responsibility and burden for making sure their child turns out right.
Of course, yeah. But
so,
you have to recognize, you have to release that indeed you are their guide, their guardian indeed.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it, because it's really coming out of the I'm a parent mindset and really truly shifting into I'm caretaking a fellow soul that just happens to be maybe 6 months in a human body or 5 years in a human body.
Yes.
And there's a lot of value and wisdom in knowing that and having that energetic shift in the dynamic that can really shift and look at that. So I find that, to loop back around to your original question, is I find that most women as mothers are really curious about what their true role is in the family and how they can be of service to their children. But also learning how to not lose themselves in that process.
That is, I mean, I think that's really at the core of any mother-child relationship, any parent-child relationship, is that balance, is really working within that dynamic and still being present, still being one's own being. I love the sense of the guardian. I know for many years I taught children of all different ages. I literally taught from K through college, and when I worked with children especially, I really always had such a belief in that every child is special. Every child actually comes with such wisdom that we need to listen to many times. And so I was just always in a place of curiosity. Yes, I'm the adult, but I'm another being who may have been here a little longer, but they have their own wisdom, they have their own soul, their own spirit that is guiding. And how can I, be a guide and a help for that to find fullest expression? And children know the difference.
Yes, they do.
Children recognize when you are coming to them with that energy versus I'm the adult and I know it all and I have it all together and I'm going to tell you. And it doesn't work. And that to me is why I really believe, especially come teenage years, that doesn't work if you're really in that mindset. Because they are really starting to come to their own.
It is. It is. And it's really when parents really realize who they are in relationship with themselves and with their children, miracles can truly happen. And what I find is that any issue, challenge, experience that any woman as a mother is having with herself and her children is simply energy.
Period. At its core.
And it's one of the things that I'm so passionate about teaching women as mothers about is energy and energy management, how to be in right relationship with your own energy. So you know what your own presence feels like to be in presence with your children.
Beautiful. Wow. That is powerful. That is incredibly powerful work. And to be able to do that with a mother, with a parent, that's really beautiful work. We'll get a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of that and go deeper into this new creation that has actually been an old creation, right? Just newly showing up for you. So we will come back with Alison Elsberry. I'll see you soon.
There is a tribe in Africa where the birth date of a child is counted not from when they were born, nor from when they are conceived, but from the day the child was thought of in its mother's mind. And when a woman decides that she will have a child, she goes off and sits under a tree by herself, and she listens until she can hear the song of the child that wants to come. And after she's heard the song of this child, she comes back to the man who will be the child's father and teaches it to him. And then they sing the song of the child as a way to invite him or her. And then when the mother is pregnant, the mother teaches that child's song to the midwives and the old women of the village, so that when the child is born, the old women and the people around her sing the child's song as a welcome. And then as the child grows up, the other villagers are taught the child's song. If the child falls or hurts his knee, someone picks him up and sings his song to him. Or perhaps the child does something wonderful or goes through the rites of puberty. Then, as a way of honoring this person, the people of the village sing his or her song. With my baby's first song, you will sing your child's song and welcome him or her into the world. A song that is as unique and special as your baby. Welcome.
And we are back with Alison Elsberry, who is sharing with us such a powerful truth that I think is really missing for so many of us in society today about energy. Parent-child, any relationship, but parent-child especially. It's all energy.
It's energy dynamics.
That's it.
It's the unspoken voice of the soul. And that's the part that really needs to be heard and given voice to. And when you see soul from the beginning, everything is so much easier.
Because then you're not taking it personally.
You're not taking it personally. You can be an observer and witness the experience, and actually create what you want to see happen for you and your children, instead of trying to move from your will center and forcing things to happen. It makes a really big difference. It's one thing to really want something for your child, but if they do not want it, that's about 90% of energy expenditure that as a woman, as a mother, you are constantly outputting towards your child that is actually creating more resistance.
And we've all seen it. This has been, to me, I think for all of us, what we have seen generation after generation after generation. That dynamic, the parent wants this, the child does not. Now, what do you say though to parents who say, but I am the parent, I have wisdom from being on this earth longer, I have wisdom to share, and I need to guide my child so that they are not going to get hurt. What do we say to that?
Well, first I'm saying thank you for having the embodied wisdom to share with your child. Let's start there and just even acknowledge that.
Yes, beautiful.
And know that you have a place in your family as well. You know, your spirit and your soul is heard just as loudly as your child is trying to get you to hear theirs. There are times when we need to really be human and intervene for a safety thing or something like that.
Right. I mean, we understand that 2-year-old doesn't know that the stove is hot, the fire is hot. We have to teach them.
Right.
So there is that practical sense.
Yes.
But when it's a matter, I think, sometimes of, just that teenager wants to go to that party. You know, let's break it down to real basics. But you recognize that, okay, that place was probably not be the best place for them.
So if we're talking about a teenager, teenagers have the amazing capacity for communication.
Okay.
So you can open up dialogue and communication and actually approach them as an adult conversation.
And I think that is the most powerful approach. I really do. And I know it's that hard part for many parents to release and allow that they're your child is now really tapping into their own wisdom and needs to do so and to release enough. But wouldn't you say if the foundation has been set along the way, all along, then that could be a little bit easier dialogue?
Yes, absolutely. And to keep trusting.
Yeah.
You know, trust that your child knows.
Yeah.
Trust that they're creating the experience that their soul is meant to be having, which creates some anxiety sometimes.
Maybe a lot.
And it can be really hard to just let go of that. But that's truly what it takes to really raise a child with a spiritual message. And if you think about the word raising a child instead of parenting a child, sometimes that can even just cause a nice softening in your heart.
Yeah, shift.
You know, like parent can sometimes feel like
Control.
yeah, like you're wanting
Grabbing,
to do something to or for your child.
Yes, yes.
Whereas a guardian, a caretaker, or, you know, using the word raising my child is literally you're raising them into their fuller spiritual expression, which takes a lot of trust and faith. As a woman, as a mother, as a man, as a father, to be able to really let go and trust that your child is well taken care of.
Yeah.
And I have a great story to illustrate this.
Yes, please.
So I was working with a family in Australia, and this mom and son were walking in a busy city, and I believe the son was about maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time. And he had started picking up his pace, and he was walking a little bit faster. And then all of a sudden, she realized that he had already gone to walk through the intersection when the traffic light was red.
Wow.
And he nearly got hit by a cab. And he was beyond arm's reach. He was literally like maybe another hand, you know, away from that arm's reach. And she said right there and then in that moment, she realized that her child did not belong to her. And that it gave her chills. And she just realized he's creating his own experience. And I can't force anything to happen or not happen here.
That's so powerful.
And she said when they got across the other intersection, you know, she wanted to just grab him, right? And say, "Oh my gosh, what were you doing?"
Right.
But what she did instead was she said she squatted down and looked him in the eye and she said, "How did you know that you were going to be okay?" And he said, "I saw it." So there's that level of trust and faith that even though you know you're caretaking your child, they still know and have an intuitive sense.
Absolutely. They are on their journey.
Yes.
They are on their path and they are being guided and protected as, you know, as it's all according to a much larger picture.
Exactly. And the best form of protection that you can ever give your child is in the spirit of love versus coming from fear.
Yes, and there's so much of fear in our society. We are bombarded with it, so it has become a habit. Really, we have been habituated into fear, but we can be habituated into love.
Yes,
Just as easily.
absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
So we're going to find out how to do that and more about the Temple of Mary.
Yes.
When we come back. Come back with Alison Elsberry.
Hi, my name is Tim Ringgold.
And I'm Orgina Rose.
And welcome to my baby's first song. We're really excited you're here. We wanted to bring you into the recording studio, into the womb, where your song will be created just for you. And just kind of walk you through the process a little so you get a sense of what it would be like to work with us in this setting. So Orgina's going to describe the process to you.
Absolutely. So it's a wonderful, beautiful process that happens in 3 easy steps. So the very first thing we do is have a call with you and really get a sense of your style and the music and the message that you want to share with your baby. And the second step is really easy as well. We then take that information, that beautiful message and the sound that you want, and we begin creating the song and have that first draft for you. And then the third step is once we have that final song all together, we do a nice mix and mastering so it sounds professional and really pulled together and deliver your baby's first song.
And because your voice is so important to your baby, one of the things we're going to do for you is provide you a karaoke track of the song with the melody line in it so that you can sing along your lyrics to your baby as well.
Absolutely, because your voice, especially a mother's voice, is so important to a baby, especially even in the womb. So we really want to make sure your voice is included. And we're even going to make sure that there's a section of the song that has your voice and your message spoken in the song. So your baby is always hearing your voice and connecting with you.
So thank you for being here. Take a look around. Email us with any questions you have. We can't wait to work with you, and thanks again.
Thank you. Bye for now.
And we are back with Alison Elsberry, who is sharing with us about the Temple of Mary. So Alison, you have been sharing with us really such powerful wisdom. Oh my goodness, I hope you all are getting this. This is good, powerful stuff. So I hope now that we can really kind of shift into what was now the knock at your door, and the bigger shift that you were called into, and what was that journey like?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yes. I'm excited to share it.
Yeah, yes, it's very exciting. It's truly exciting.
So about 1.5 years ago, I was in meditation and I was given a vision by Mary. And she truly is my business partner.
I love it.
We are constantly co-creating the best experience for our children and families.
I love it.
And so I was in meditation and I saw this vision of a temple, and it had a lot of light and it was a physical building. And I got the message that it was truly to be a spiritual and educational resource center for children and families, nurturing the next generation of spiritual leaders on our planet. And I said, okay, I receive. Thank you for entrusting me with this vision. What has happened over the last 1.5 years, I had no idea it would transpire or unfold in that capacity. And I asked for a clear next best step. And it was to move from where I was living in Oregon to Encinitas, California. And I said, okay.
Just like that.
And so I moved.
So she moved.
And I got here, and about 3 weeks later, I was sitting on the beach, and I said, okay, what's my next best step? And she asked me, are you willing to surrender your ego's agenda to serve the highest good of this vision? And without any hesitation, I'm like, of course, this deep, full body, soul, yes, expression.
Yay.
And what I didn't realize is that she was going to take me on quite the journey over these last 9 months. And it has been an incredible journey of really letting go of what is not in alignment with that vision.
Yes.
But more importantly, she's taught me about the miracle of kindness and how that permission to really follow your heart's desire truly comes from within, and the willingness to keep falling in love with myself over and over and over again.
Good.
Has,
oh my goodness.
Has truly been the transformation.
Okay, we have got to unpack that because that is so much really powerful messages in there.
Yeah.
But that last one is, I believe, the core.
It is.
I really believe it's the core. Say that again.
I'll do my best.
Well, it's the falling in love with yourself over. And first of all, most people have real issue with even the thought or concept of falling in love with oneself because of the fear of the extreme of it.
Yeah.
Which is how we kind of operate in our society. We operate in these extremes. So I'm afraid of this extreme, so I'll go to this extreme.
Right.
We don't know how to hold things.
I did that. I totally understand.
Yeah.
You know, my extreme was coming in as a very awake, aware, conscious being, creating a different experience that told me, oh, well, I'll just swing to the other end of the spectrum and hide.
And hide out. This is what,
And hide out and judge myself for being different.
Yes. Yes.
And actually even hating myself. For the gifts that I had.
Yes.
And feeling almost even enslaved to them. You know?
And some go even more extreme and they make the choice to check out. And that's so huge. I think so many people don't recognize sometimes that is that extreme choice to run away from the very call and the very gifts that you're being given.
Exactly.
Because there's not an understanding of what they are. Because our societies have not necessarily said yes to this and embraced it or have healthy containers for it. So then there's just confusion, right? And loss and drifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can definitely relate to that. Even though I have a strong spiritual connection.
Absolutely.
There's that free will part.
Yes.
Do I want to go with my soul or do I want to refuse it?
Yeah.
And sometimes that refusal felt a little more unconscious for me because it was just protective patterns that were getting activated because I was getting closer and closer to really sharing.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by falling in love with myself over and over again was learning how to soften who I thought I was and allow that to fall away and instead allow the real me to show up and thrive in that kindness of allowing.
Beautiful, right?
And
just simple.
It truly was. It truly was.
We think it's the bigger, we think it's all this other stuff, and it's not.
No, and it had to come from within. You know, Mary wouldn't have it any other way. You know, this was a decision, this vision was gifted, but I am just as much a part of the co-creative process as on the other side.
Yes.
And so it's my willingness and participation and how much do I really want to embody this and have fun with it and feel alive, you know, with that. And it really wasn't until I learned how to really be in my body and embody my gifts and be the message instead of trying to talk at the message.
Right, yes.
And so all of that came about in that 9-month period, which honestly was one of the most intense experiences, you know, in my almost 40 years on this planet.
Wow.
So when the fall of 2015 came around, I had the opportunity to go to a spiritual women's retreat where there's a bunch of entrepreneurs there, and it was an intimate group of about 30 women. And I had the opportunity to stand in front of these women and share about the vision. And we had heard a guest speaker talking about her courage and what it was to ask people to help her support her vision financially, monetarily, energetically, all kinds of support. So it really inspired me. So as I was sharing, I had a woman actually say to me, you know, tell me more about that. And it caused me to actually say, would you like to contribute? And when I said that, I realized, oh my gosh, that's my soul completely speaking in that light. And what happened next is what really truly birthed the temple into reality. And at the end of the retreat, she handed me $40 and she came up to me and she said, it isn't much, but it's what I have right now. and I want you to create this dream.
Wow.
And then so many things have unfolded just from that simple act of kindness. And I know that if I had not allowed myself to be with the inner process that I was gifted, that I wouldn't have been able to receive it in that moment. And
or
so,
even ask the question.
Exactly. And so again, it was that miracle of kindness that was extended to me, and then also extended to myself in receiving it. And from there, it's just
as they say, the rest is history. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, and so how she instructed me to really make the announcement and be very vulnerable with it, and ask for people to contribute and things like that. That was another really big growth edge as well.
Beautiful. We'll find out how people can indeed support the Temple of Mary, and indeed find out the resources and education that they need for themselves when we come back.
There is a tribe in Africa where the birth date of a child is counted not from when they were born, nor from when they are conceived, but from the day the child was thought of in its mother's mind. And when a woman decides that she will have a child, she goes off and sits under a tree by herself, and she listens until she can hear the song of the child that wants to come. And after she's heard the song of this child, she comes back to the man who will be the child's father and teaches it to him. And then they sing the song of the child as a way to invite him or her. And then when the mother is pregnant, the mother teaches that child's song to the midwives and the old women of the village, so that when the child is born, the old women and the people around her sing the child's song as a welcome. And then as the child grows up, the other villagers are taught the child's song. If the child falls or hurts his knee, someone picks him up and sings his song to him. Or perhaps the child does something wonderful, or goes through the rites of puberty. Then, as a way of honoring this person, the people of the village sing his or her song. With my baby's first song, you will sing your child's song and welcome him or her into the world. A song that is as unique and special as your baby. Welcome.
And we are back with Alison Elsberry. And Alison, I want you to just really look every person out there in the eye, speak to their hearts about what is the Temple of Mary, what is it here to do, and how can they connect.
Thank you for that opportunity. So the Temple of Mary is an educational and spiritual resource center to educate the future generation of spiritual leaders on the planet. And it's really here to help children and families learn how to embody more of their spirituality in a more empowered way, so that they're free to share their gifts in the world from a place of love. And we provide really unique educational and spiritual resources that really empower the soul of every family. And we're working on some really fun projects, from creating educational curriculum that embodies spirituality, learning how to teach your children and educate their spirit, not just the mind. And we're also really getting ready to create our first book and some other online products, spiritual guidebooks, and other resources that are really instantly available to any family around the world. And it's truly my soul's legacy to really be leaving this on the planet and be an embodiment of Mary's energy to truly, truly support you and your children.
To find out more about the Temple of Mary and receive your free gift, please visit www.AlisonElsberry.com. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us today on our show. I really hope that there was something shared that really helps you shine your biggest and brightest light. Please stop by again, like us on Facebook, tweet us, all of those good things. And most importantly, please always remember, it's all about love.